just skip ahead to the intro. I'm just getting everything sorted right now so we can get going as smoothly as possible. Of course, sorry for the slight delay in terms of getting the stream sorted. I'm just copying the link. We've got a few people we need to wait for as well, so let's hope we can get it all sorted quickly. Okay, so it looks like we are just getting going with what we've got. So hey there everyone, and welcome back. Tonight is a very special occasion as we celebrate the birth of a new league, OBF1. So we fly down under for the inaugural round in Melbourne, Australia. The season opens here ahead of a full 20-round season. Starting here in Melbourne, we travel across continents, across cultures, and across circuits. So, the Albert Park Street Circuit plays host to tonight's proceedings. 16 corners and a 5.303 kilometre circuit make up what is one of the best opening tracks in Formula 1 history. A race at record of a 1:24.125 and a race of attrition. We have it all in store tonight. New league, new season, and it is time to get underway. And well, it's a new league, it's a new era for the proceedings tonight. We've already got 6 people in, so welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all supporting the stream. Do make sure to like and comment. Obviously lovely to have you all in the stream. Of course, I am Zach Sweeney. If you are unfamiliar with the channel, do make sure to subscribe and like. Of course, we're heading in to the short qualifying session right now, and to be honest, I'm going to be predicting we see probably a really mixed strategy. Maybe some people opt in for the softs to get the track position in qualifying. Some people may be going for the mediums for an alternate strategy to the race. Of course, if you start outside the top 10, you do have the advantage of fresh and free choice of tyres during the race, so it could definitely play a massive factor in today's race. Of course, with Australia, it is a very tricky circuit to overtake on, so people are just going to have to keep their eyes out for that one and make sure they're not getting too caught out by sending a move down the inside or whatever. But 18 minutes of qualifying ahead of us. Everyone needs to get out there, put their heads down, put in a decent lap, and make sure they can set the circuit alight and make a good, strong debut race ahead of OBF1's birth. So it looks like we have got a couple of people heading out on circuit now. 7 people watching, guys. It's a pleasure to have you all here, it must be said. But we have got Cody Lewis out on a hot lap, out on an out lap, I should say, in the Williams racing car. Everyone on their debut, so not really a good testament to everyone's speed. We don't know anyone's pace, we don't know anyone's ability. Everyone's just sort of being thrown in, and well, hopefully it's a close race. You know, maybe we can see the likes of CDM, JW. I believe I've seen them before. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe he's the one to set it alight. Maybe it's Cody Lewis, the man we're on board with now. Could certainly be anyone. Coming into turn 9, it's a very tricky corner. You have to really attack that curve on the inside, but it's a mixed ability field, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing lap times in the range of around the 121s, maybe all the way up to maybe the 123s. It could be that large 2-second range, but of course it's a learning curve for everyone. 9 people in the stream. Pleasure to have you all here, and I'm Zach Sweeney taking you around. So coming into turn 13, you can see he's right on the back of Harvey in front of him, who is, looks like they're both backing off to try and set up that hot lap. We'll go on board with a racing point of Hard. 10 people watching. This is amazing support for the new league. Hopefully this support continues throughout the 20-round season we have. But here goes Harv through turn 16, the final corner, all the way to the left-hand side with DRS wide open in the pink Panther, the racing point. Coming into turn 1, want to be looking for that 50 board on the left-hand side. Chucking it in 4th gear, use all the curb on the inside through turn 2. Drag reduction system wide open again on the run down to turn 3. Need to look out for that black box. Brake just as you hit it. Down to 3rd gear, maybe just to keep the car rolling rolling, keep the revs up into turn 4, gotta chuck it in and use all the curb on the exit, flat through turn 5 if you're committed, use the curb on the exit as we round off sector 1 through turn 6. And very nicely done, a very quick sector 1 from Hav. Through this long right-hander of turn 8, needs to go all the way to the left-hand side to get him set up for turn 9. Does not hit that curb on the inside. That could compromise him as he doesn't get the car straightened enough coming down here. So he doesn't have that straight line speed advantage on the run down into turn 11 and 12. The infamous chicane. 48.9 to the middle sector. Very good time indeed. Runs a little bit wide, but no harm done on the run down into 13. Want to be looking for that 100 board once again, down to 5th gear, using a gear too high I would say personally, but if it works for him, so be it. In the racing point, coming around into the penultimate corner, down to 2nd gear, got to get that rotation, lower the gears, use the engine braking, 4th gear, bit of understeer through turn 16, DRS and across the line, just about going to run out of ERS as he crossed the line, but what is it going to be to open up the lap? It's a 21.3, a very, very good strong time indeed. What is Cody going to do? Across the line goes with a 21.9, so relatively close considering it's only their first laps. Of course, a lot of time to make it up. Here comes JC across the line to start his hot lap. Into turn 1, taking it a bit cautious, 4th gear, roll of the curve, into the curb. And it looks like we've got a couple of people filtering in, so KVDBPR into P4 and Villas up into P2 with a 21.5, so it is looking very close. The guys only separated by around 1.5 seconds or so, which if we can keep the field spread like this, I'm sure we're going to be in for a very, very entertaining race. It is CDM though through turn 14, and Max goes pole with a 1:21.103, so very quick times off the gate, already exceeding expectations, so maybe we can dip into the 20s. Of course, they're only their first lap of qualifying. Here comes CDM. Rain in the race. We have been informed it's going to be a wet race, which could throw a massive spanner into things. Is it going to be wet enough for wet? Is it going to be just on that crossover point? We never know. It could change a massive factor in the race, and it's really going to be a whole new testament to skill amongst the drivers, because rain, of course, lowers the grip levels. You have to be a lot more committed. You have to find the grip yourself. There's no set racing line. So everyone out there gunning for it. CDM purple to the first sector, 26.9. Very good first sector. Just needs to hook up the rest of the lap in the Renault. And track position ever so more important in the rain. Of course, visibility is low. You need to be ahead. CDM taking a very tight line coming off of turn 9 and into 10. The shorter distance, of course, helping him. Villas has retired, so happy with his lap time through turn 11 into 12. Got to be committed. DRS wide open for the Renault. Newly named Alpine for the 2021 season. Down the gears, 4th gear, very nicely done through 13. Bit of a slide on the exit. Chucking it through 14. Got to use that 5th gear. Max the provisional pole sitter, just moving out of the way nicely. Bit of a mistake through turn 15, the penultimate corner, but no harm done. It's just his bank lap time. It's not been the most hooked up final sector. He's really going to struggle across the line. It's only going to be a 21.8. Puts in P4, still a good time, but needs to probably build upon that, I'm sure, and I'm sure he's going to be wanting to do so. Max just maximising his runs. Look at the tyres, so fitted 2-lap old soft tyres, so taking an installation lap, a flying lap, and then another installation lap, just to get the car up to speed. Heater as well, invalidated lap time. JFC Brito into 13, taking down the gears, not as committed as you would like, bit stop and start unfortunately, needs to roll in on the brakes a little bit more, I would say, but there's always more to learn. Callum, interestingly enough, on the mediums, going for that banker lap time in the Williams, but there's JFC into the pit lane. Mitch GK, the man who was meant to be doing commentary alongside me tonight, down on the grid and currently sitting P4, so very nicely done, and P2 down to P4, so those three guys covered by a mere 1/10 of a second, so it is incredibly close at the front end of the field, but Max running away with it as it stands, 21.1, and showing the Haas driver has the pace to keep it committed and keep himself up in front. But Max across the line once again, beating his previous best time of the 21.1. Now down to a 20.594. Very quick times from the Haas driver. really setting himself apart from the grid, nearly 8 tenths clear of the next nearest driver, which is remarkable stuff. The guy is with some scorching pace, but you know, Kimi and Harv, they're still putting their noses in. Kimi down to a 20.7 as well, less than 2 tenths off the pole sitter, and that is very, very easily made up, especially at Melbourne. There's a lot of places to make up said time. Harv as well, eager to get himself back onto the original pole. Through 16. DRS wide open, setting himself up for a hot lap on the red mark soft tyre. Some new red mark soft tyres across the line to start the lap to the left hand side for turn 1. Got to be looking out for that 50 board down to 4th gear. Use the curb on turn 2 to try and hook the car around. DRS wide open once again, maximise the track, foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and flat out down this straight down into turn 3. Slam on the anchors to 3rd gear. Use up all the track, bring it over to the right hand side, leave it in 3rd. Does have bit of an interesting tactic, might be running a higher traction setting than the likes of Max, but nonetheless rounding off sector 1, 26.6, very nicely done, a 10th up on his personal best, and then through the long right hander of turn 8, just got to keep the car as pinned to the inside as possible, and then back to the left hand side for turn 9, got to hook that curb on the inside, doesn't do so, needs to use a lot more steering lock. That's him round on the hot lap, manages to very nicely save that and bring it back to a straight line, but that's going to be him off his hot lap after what looked to be pretty promising, but just couldn't hook up turn 9 as he would have liked. A very easy mistake to do from the racing point there. Yeah, not the best stuff from him. Here's Cody Lewis setting up a hot lap, currently 6P7 with a 1:21.9. DRS wide open. Using the maximum of his energy recovery system as he comes into turn 1 once again. Needs to just hook it up, try and propel himself up the order. P7 still a good place, but in the rain it's going to be difficult to make up those places. This is where a lot of the race is going to be decided. Ironically, in the qualifying session, you need to get a good position to justify the point. You know, you're going to be starting in the race, and it could be detrimental to the results in the race. Of course, if you know someone has the pace in the rain but they had a poor qualifying session, they're going to find it hard to battle through. By the time they have battled through, the guy might be, you know, 5 seconds ahead, and that 5 seconds could be the pace deficit that he's lacking, or you know, he could battle his way through but get caught up in an incident. Anything can happen in the rain, so they need to maximize the 18 minutes of quali they have got, 8 of which are left as Cody enters turn 11 and 12, chucking it through, keeping it clean and consistent. Shortest run into turn 13, got the Ferrari nicely moving out the way of Mitch. Into 13, got to be committed, 4th gear, needs to roll it nicely. He's spun round, that's his big crash for Cody. Luckily managing to keep it rolling so he can return himself back to the pits and get a new front ring on the Williams. So 2 retirees from the session as it stands. 2 people yet to set a lap time, so we're still waiting for GT Racer and Drimstrav both to set a lap, looking to go for the late charges, it seems, in the qualifying sessions. So in the Red Bull, not being particularly strong here in recent times. The Red Bull never actually, I don't believe, stood on the podium in Melbourne, especially in the turbo hybrid era, if I'm not mistaken. Probably someone is going to correct me on that, but I'm not entirely sure. They have, actually no, they have. Max Verstappen in 2019 of course did, finishing in a lovely P3 position. But here's GT Racer GT setting up a hot lap all the way to the left hand side. Then this is probably going to be one of his, you know, one of maybe 2 laps he gets in a bit wide through turn 1. That's not going to be ideal. Again, this is just a bank lap time to get himself acclimatized to the circuit, get himself a bank lap time to improve upon so he can judge his pace. Bit of a lock up into turn 3, very easy to do. Into turn 4, got to keep it consistent. 11 people watching the stream, welcome guys, pleasure to have you all. Do make sure to like the stream as well, it's a pleasure to have you all. Where is GT Racer? 27.4, that's pretty lackluster in comparison to the likes of Max, Kimi and Harv. He needs to improve on that in the 2nd and 3rd sector if he wants to get inside the top 10, which the barrier to do so currently at 22.5, very wide through turn 9 as well. Certainly going to be pretty harsh to him, not running the correct line through there as well. Bit of a lock up through turn 11, going to compromise him for turn 12. And this isn't looking like the best lap for GT Racer GT, unfortunately. Tarry a little bit down in his time, currently 7.9, needs to improve. It's turn 9. Let's see if he hooks that. He does. And the exit and not have to use as much steering lock to get the car around, which is a mistake I believe we saw Harv using. A bit slower, and he's invalidated his lap time, unfortunately. We have got up on a lap as well. The man currently sitting P3, looking to breach into the top 2. Needs a big improvement if he wants to do so. But let's hope he can hook it up. Invalidates it though. That's very less than ideal for the man in the Racing Point, and that could be one of his only runs left in the session completed, which, well, could be too high. He might not be able to get another run in. He might not have a set of tyres left to use. Everyone looking to impress. They've come in here with their big boy pants and looking to put on a good show ahead of tonight's first race of the league, not only the season but the league as a whole. OBF1 newly formed, and I got drafted in as a commentator. Oh, there's CDM very wide. That's his wheel gone through turn 11. And was that necessary? Nearly getting in the way of Cody Lewis there, but a massive crash. And that's going to see his qualifying over with 4 minutes to go. Currently says P6, very, very close in the midfield though. A couple of tenths only separating a couple of places. So just needing to, you know, everyone needs to improve now. The opportunity. CDM can't improve. Let's see what Cody Lewis can do. The man in the Williams. Currently sits P7, 29.8, 29.9, sorry, I should say. Coming into turn 1, needs a couple of tenths to improve his position up to P6. A further 4 tenths to improve himself up to P5. And then not even going to take him that much to get himself up to P4. Needs about 4 and a bit tenths to get himself into the top 4. So maybe the Williams can do it. He just needs to hook up this lap. That big load of understeer is definitely not going to help though into turn 5. Got to be committed, got to be fast. Got to hook up that curb on the outside. A little bit down on this time. 2 more seconds to improve on that. 8 more corners left to go of the circuit. Into turn 9. Curb. Let's see if he does. Yes. Spin the exit. Very, very big crash from Cody Lewis there. That's going to see him tumbling, and got enough time for another lap. I don't believe he does. He might just make it if he goes for a bit of a splash and dash with fuel. Kimi Mattivs. This is the fight for position between him and Max, who's also started a hot lap. So the Ferrari and the Haas, 2 cars that were probably closer in pace in 2020 than they've ever been. Into turn 1, there goes the Ferrari, really chucking it in, being committed, as well as Max. Let's see what he does to the first sector. Is he purple? Has he improved? We'll just have to wait and see. He's a little bit down, 0.02 of a second down on his time. Through turn 8, which proceeds on the run into turn 9. Let's see how committed he is through here. Bit of a clip on the grass, bit of a lock-up. Just goes to show how much he's pushing the limits of the car through turn 10. The long left-hander, not running the tightest of lines going, but if it works for him, he's a little bit up, half a tenth up on his time through sector 1. Purple to the middle sector, very committed through turn 11 and 12, and on the run down into 13. Can he set himself a new benchmark for pole? This is probably going to be his last run of the session. Bit of a lock up into 13, hooks the car up nicely with the gears though nonetheless, chucking it into 14, which proceeds to 15 and 16 down the gears as quick as he likes. Very nice trail braking from the Haas man. And rounding the final corner, has he improved enough on this final lap to see him extend his gap at pole? Has he done it? Yes, he has, by 0.3 of a second. A 20.2 is the new benchmark, and Kimi has invalidated. He's going to need to go again, so he's going to set that up now. He's going to set it up, go wide, cut in for a late apex, flat out down the straight now, and use this momentum to build up that pace and get him into pole position. Needs 0.5 to do it. He's currently 5 seconds down on his delta. He's still got 1 more lap. This is the final lap of the session. Needs to be committed, needs to chuck it in. DRS wide open, the drag reduction system, the rear wing flap opening to give him that extra 20 kph down the gears into turn 3. Really got to be aiming himself at that apex to use minimal lock, opening it up all the way to the right hand side for turn 3 and 4 into 5. Got to be flat out, clips the curb on the inside. Has he improved to the first sector? We'll have to wait and see. Yes, he does. He goes purple, 0.2 up, and that's going to put him on a 20.5. Needs a further 0.3 across the lap though. He's still got 2 more sectors to get that done. into turn 9 through into turn 10. The long left-hander. Is he even further up on his time? Still another 2/10. Needs to find a little bit more through the final sector. Big slide from the Ferrari. Needs to get himself composed once again. He's pushing so hard. He needs to try and close the gap to Max. Down the gears into 13. Getting it hooked up nicely. He needs to give it all or nothing in this final sector. Chuck it in and leaves it in 6th gear. Coming in to turn 15. Max into the pits. The pole sitter is out of quali. Has Kimi done enough through the final corner? Giving it everything. Using all of his energy recovery system. DRS wide open. Is it enough? Is it pole? No. 20.4 for the Ferrari man. But a Ferrari 2-3 nonetheless. As it stands. Very good stuff in this race. And Ted Buiche saying good luck everyone. Of course, have to give everyone good luck. And rain in the race is going to be pretty difficult to contend with, especially for the first race of the season, let alone the first race of the league. Mitch GK giving up on quali, currently sits P3, can have improved. He is at 4/10 up and purple to the middle sector. Very nicely done from the racing point. Just needs to hook up the rest of the sector. I'm sure we can see him maybe up into the top 3 and joining maybe Max on the front row. Needs to get probably a lot more time than he'd like into the final sector, but maybe possible. Maybe breaching up an extra position on the second row into the penultimate corner. Needs to hook it up to the right, to the left, chuck it in. Scandinavian flick style across the line. DRS wide open, straight line to the line. Is it enough? Yes it is, to get himself into the top 3. Very nice lap from the racing point, splitting the 2 Ferraris and putting himself in a nice little racing point sandwich between the 2 Ferrari breds. But that is going to conclude qualifying. So that concludes what was a pretty thrilling qualifying session, exceeding all expectations, it must be said. I did not think anyone would be as low into the 20s as Max was, nearly into the 19s, but he takes pole ahead of Kimi in the Ferrari. Harvick rounding off the top 3 and Mitch rounding off the second row, joining him in P4. Callum takes P5 at 21.3, not too shabby of a lap nonetheless. Villas in P6, CDM P7 after luckily managing to clinch at straws not to be knocked down further as Peter couldn't improve. He sits P9, Cody Lewis in P9 and GFC in P10. Rounding off the top 10, JVD is going to be the first of the free choice of tyres. GT couldn't improve. Jim Strav broke Gorilla, both not being able to set a time in this qualifying session. So that was quali. We're going to be going in ahead of what I believe is going to be 26 laps of the Melbourne Park circuit. First of all, good luck to everyone. Thank you for all the support on the stream, and I hope you all enjoy the commentary by myself. So if it's going to be wet for the race, it's going to be a very challenging race start. Everyone's going to be tentative. Remember to leave a like on the stream if you haven't already. But rain in the race. This is confirmed, of course, by Todd. Not Ted, sorry. Apologies for that. But Todd confirming rain in the race. Is it wet enough for inters? It looks like there's going to be enough standing water. Of course, with the wet weather, you do need to judge it right, because the way the wet tyres are constructed is if they have the rubber and they have the treads, obviously, where the water is above the track surface, the kart might just sit on top of it like a little bit of a boat, and the tyre won't be able to grip the tarmac as well. So they have the treads in that to displace the water, to spray it outwards, so you can have a nice clear bit of tarmac whereby the tyre can spin and cleanly go, because that's how it works. The friction from the rubber with the tarmac gets the car with the grip it needs. So you need to time that right. We're going to have a formation lap. No, we're not. We're going to go straight to the 5 red lights. And here we are. We're underway and racing for a new season, a new league of OBF1, and it's a great start from the pole sitter who's really under pressure, and it's a very, very poor start from the Racing Point. There's a very poor start for the Williams further back, who's had a bit of a crash, and we've got a timing glitch, but everyone very tentative. Need to get themselves acclimatized to the wet weather, take themselves a couple of laps to get used to it, but the two guys at the front getting a good start, getting away cleanly, and Kimi up into the rest of the Ferrari. Williams of Callum, who's made himself up a position. GT Racer already up 6, just keeping himself clean through turn 1, managing to avoid the incidents and getting himself acclimatized. Could we see a bit of a Rainmaster drive from GT Racer? Let's see, into turn 7, which leads into 8. He's got the run on half, maybe into turn 9 if he can keep it clean. Lap 1 of 29, so strategy could play a factor. Wet tyres can go a while, but a bit of a double lockup, really pushing hard through turn 9, all over the back of him. Needs to get the run using the energy recovery system. No DRS in the wet weather, of course, and even if there was, it wouldn't be up until lap 3. We get it into turn 11 and 12, all over the back of him. Maybe we can see it send further up there. CDM very wide. There's Harv, a bit shaky. This is GT Racer's opportunity. Engages the energy recovery system and gets himself up the inside. Kimi, the race leader, has had a bit of an off as well. CDM up the inside, goes in a bit deep. There goes Kimi back up the inside. That's going to leave him compromised maybe to GT to have a look up the inside. CDM leaves him the room, opens up the gap. Could this give GT the run? Looks to the inside, but it looks as though Max is going to re-inherit the race lead after Kimi maybe a bit shaky through turn 11 and 12. Very, very poor start from the Ferrari after what looked as though to be such a promising one. Hard second penalty, and the predicted pit stop strategy, a one-stop race, pitting on a lap about 14. But CDM, bit of a lucky break for him in the Renault. And Kimi very sideways coming through turn 2. Yellow flash through sector 3. A lot of people into the pit lane despite the wet weather, and it is a very tricky circuit to get used to as Albert Park. You've got to be committed, but you also have a lot of harsh braking zones to be mindful of. So the wet weather is definitely not something you want to get acclimatized to quickly. It takes a lot of practice. But the pole sitter and race leader Max doing quite well up front, must be said. 2 seconds clear of the nearest car of Callum, who's done very well to get himself up the grid in the wet. GT trying to get himself back onto the back of CDM, who's looking very shaky through turn 8 and trying to hitch himself back onto this fight for P3. And Kimi on a charge. He's looking to get some redemption for his earlier mistake in through turn 11 and 12. Looking to get himself back into the fight for the race lead. Goes purple to the middle sector, trying to keep it clean through turn 12. Nicely done there. Try not to use the curb on the exit as much, but certainly gets the job done. On the back of Callum, where we saw we're going to be looking to see that battle unfold. We'll go on board with the Ferrari chasing down the Williams. He needs to get this done pretty soon if he wants to chase after the pole sitter that he's been battling. 2.5 seconds is the gap between second and first. 3 seconds is the gap between third and first. So he just needs to be mindful of that gap. Keep it clean. Yellows through sector 2. Looks like Cody Lewis has had a bit of an off further back. 29 laps of this, guys. You need to keep it clean. And to finish first you must definitely finish. But down into turn 1, getting the brakes on nicely. Don't want to lock up, don't want to be too eager on the power either. Just needs to get the run. Very hard to see in the spray that's being kicked up from all that displaced water of the intermediates in front of him. Luckily not torrential rain, as that would be pretty horrific to see. But through turn 4, he's on the back of Callum. 6 tenths is the gap. Just needs to look for an opportunity, look for an opening to get himself up the inside. Very wide from Kimi. His heart definitely in his mouth as he loses a bit of time through there. Have we got JFC on the back of the Red Bull? Looks like he's slowly chipping away at the lead the Red Bull has for P5. Extra 2 points on offer if he can get himself up the inside and done move. Through turn 9, second gear to get the rotation. Needs to be mindful of the traction. Only full throttle around about now and still wheel spinning as he tries so eagerly to put that energy recovery system down. The ERS, of course, if you don't know, the key energy that is caused by the friction when the car slows down, obviously where the brakes have to clamber on together. That friction provides heat energy. That heat energy is converted into electrical energy, which powers a battery, which powers a motor. Give him an extra around about 140 brake horsepower or so, and you can see JFC cleanly getting himself up the inside of a compromised Red Bull, and it looks like that gap that was chipping away ever so slightly for a couple of laps has now come true, and JFC with some brilliant pace as he acclimatizes himself a little bit better to the wet weather conditions than the likes maybe of a couple of others, but Max flying up in front, setting purple lap after purple lap, really getting his head down and pushing up in front is the race leader and pole sitter, proving why he could take the championship lead tonight. Of course, points on offer for fastest lap if you finish within the top 10. And Kimi really does have the pace to give it to Callum, but just can't quite close up in the dirty area. Once again, running very wide through turn 5. It is a very easy mistake to do. Yellow flags through sector 2. I believe that is Cody once again having a bit of an off. That could be a bit of a distraction for these guys. Bit sideways for Kimi. Is that a compromised Max up in front? No, it looks like, now Ford, it looked as though the Williams got in the way. But here goes his teammate. He's got Kimi a couple of seconds back to be mindful of it through such a fast section of the circuit. Luckily going to be ghosted. I can't quite do that in real life, but nonetheless, here's Jim Strav getting himself around the outside of Broke Gorilla. That's a remarkable move, very, very courageous, and Broke Gorilla doesn't think to fight that. Bit wide from the McLaren, maybe Broke Gorilla pushing to stay with him, very shaky, and it looks as though it's a very, very tricky start to the race for everyone. And well, it is a very tricky start to the race for everyone. They all need to acclimatise themselves quickly. It's a new environment, it's a new weather condition, there's grip changes every lap. They need to try and get themselves acclimatised quickly. Find where the grip is, find new grip. You're constantly finding new grip, you're constantly finding pace. Even as the tyres degrade, you're constantly finding new pace. Here is Jim Strav looking to make some moves. It looks like the two McLarens have got the pace in the wet. They're chasing after the Red Bull and the McLaren in front, chasing after the Renault. Kimi falling off the back of Callum a little bit. Maybe a string of mistakes has cost him that. Or Callum has had a bit of a revelation in his pace. There goes GT very wide. This could give Jim the space he needs. GT covers the inside very well, making that Red Bull as wide as possible, but goes in a little bit deep. Cooks it up nicely despite the poor run going in and going very wide, and Jim still putting the pressure on. Maybe we can see him go for a move, maybe into turn 11 or 12. Going to be very courageous like he did on the likes of Broke Gorilla. If he gets a good drive, no reason why not. He's in the slipstream, he's going to go for it, looks to the inside, that space is going to close very quickly. GT using the energy to defend, looks to the inside, thinks better of it though, going to try and set up a good sequence of corners. GT very quick through turn 11 and 12 though, and manages to open up the gap to not leave him vulnerable down into turn 13, which very wise defending from the Red Bull. Got to be quick where you need to be quick. Everywhere else, it doesn't matter as long as he doesn't get past. Closest battle on track though, everywhere else seems to be pretty widespread. So we're going to stay on board with the McLaren as he fights the Red Bull. Hopefully a battle we see in real life in 2021. Of course, pre-season testing taking place. There goes the Red Bull pretty wide through turn 15 on the exit into turn 16. That could compromise him. Bit shaky from Jim Strav. The McLaren looking to get through using his energy recovery system, but so is the Red Bull in front. Pulls to the inside to have a look for his braking point. And looking maybe into turn 3, going to think better of it, can't quite send it under brakes, maybe going to try and bait GT in a bit deep. He picks up a 3-second penalty, a lot of wheel spin from the McLaren, who was still wheel spinning as he decided to brake, still wheel spinning, getting the power down. Looks like he's very eager and very authoritative on that loud pedal, but Kimi slowly edging back into that 1 second range of the car in front of him. Max still dominating up in front, and it doesn't look like he's going to be stopped anytime soon whatsoever. The McLaren just needed to get himself down the gears, use the engine brake into full effect, try and close the gap. He's lost a bit of time, but he has got the run, he's got the ERS, and it looks like GT Racer isn't using it. Is Jim Strav going to look to the inside? Very bold move if he does go for it, and probably a bit of a stupid one, definitely a fine line. GT Racer picks himself up 3-second time penalty, so that's going to be added on to his race time at the end of the race. Have a look at who stopped. So everyone in the top 10 hasn't stopped, everyone outside the top 10 has stopped. So whether that's Ford down, there goes the Red Bull very, very wide. That's going to give him a compromised run coming down into turn 1. That gives Jim Strav the drive on the exit to get himself side by side up this pit straight. Who's going to get it into turn 1? Will GT Racer send it around the outside? He's going to go for it, maybe, but the McLaren just going to take the track away from him, take the racing line, and very nicely done to get himself up into P6. His teammate closing in on CDM up in front. Kimi, sorry, not Mickey, closing down on Callum in front. If it was Mickey, I'm sure the guy in front would be Donald, but that's besides the point. Coming in to turn 8. Just needs to be careful on the throttle, not be too shaky as he comes in to turn 9. Hit that inside curb really nicely, hook that outside one to hook the car up, use it as a straight line. Overtake enabled, trying to close the gaps to the Williams, as well as JFC on the back of the Renault. Looks like that curb on the inside, looks like there was a Ferrari round maybe behind him. And there goes JFC, he has got the run. Maybe into turn 13 if he can hook up a good run. That's exactly what he is going to do. And that's exactly what he's going to do. CDM a little bit compromised. Overtake enabled to the inside. Can he send it? Looks there. Doesn't quite go for it though. Can't be as committed on the brakes as he would have perhaps liked. So CDM managing to just about hang on for that P5 as it stands. There goes CDM very, very deep into turn 15. This could give JFC the run he needs to get himself within the top 4. Just needs to get that good run onto the straight. Kimi as well putting the pressure on Callum. We've got a two-way fight here going down into turn 1. They're going to be side by side. 2 Renault powered cars. There goes the McLaren to the inside. The Renault around the outside, side by side. The McLaren's been sent round by it, and the Renault has been given some front wing damage here. Immediately resets the track to get himself going again. Bit dodgy, but no harm done. And to be completely honest, I have to say that was a bit of a racing incident. CDM very, very eager to hold on to that position. Very, very eager to stay in front. And it looks like Jim Strav is just a bit desperate to get himself up the inside. Tried to claim the corner, but as is the case with F1, it's the guy on the inside that gets sent spinning, as opposed to the guy on the outside like it would be in real life. Kimi with a stupid mistake once again, trying to chase down Callum. He closes up, but just drops back as soon as he's within that dirty air range. So it looks like we've got another McLaren now on the back. He looks like he's going to try and get vengeance for his teammate. To the outside goes Jim Strav once again, side by side through turn 11, backs out of it, thinks better of this one. This is the battle for P4 through turn 12. Needs a good run. Is CDM using his overtake? You bet he is. He's got a lot more stored up than the McLaren behind. Very easy to save in the wet though. It is Max with another purple lap, proving his tyres aren't degrading one bit. He's just dominating up in front for the season opener. Down into turn 15, aim yourself at the apex, full lock to induce the understeer to get the car to rotate early. Very nicely done. CDM needs a good run, bit shaky from him though, unfortunately. This could give Jim Strav maybe a little look into turn 1 if he's got the slipstream. Doesn't look quite like it's going to be viable. Pulls back to the outside to take the racing line. Going to need a good run, get the power down, get a straight line exit. CDM does that perfectly to try and defend his position. JFC with a 3-second penalty. GT Racer with a 3-second penalty. Jim Strav maybe looks to the inside, send it. No, we're going to think better of that on this particular occasion, and probably for the wisest choice. Just needs to sit behind, wait for a mistake, a little bit like that one there, so he can, you know, set up a better exit, set up a better bit of power. Very, very wide from Jim Strav, unfortunately. And that could cost him a bit of time. Luckily, didn't send the car spinning. Very easy to do on the exit of turn 5, is send the car spinning, but manages to keep it in a straight line. Kimi on the back of Callum needs a good run through turn 11 and 12. Callum's so committed up in front. Has he got the run? Can he get it done? Overtake enabled. Callum also using overtake. Going to back out of that one. Maybe needs to be a bit more confident behind the car. Does Kimi if he wants to get himself back into the top 2. But Jim Strav pushing CDM through turn 11 and 12. Getting a good run. Taking a tighter line. Getting a straighter exit. ERS enabled. Does CDM pull to the inside? He's going to stay committed to the outside. Confident that Jim Strav won't send it. He doesn't send it into 13. And there's going to be the McLaren staying behind. Bit wide from the Renault. Just needs to stick it with him. Through 14. and into 15, second gear to get the rotation, hook the apex nicely, a bit wide from the Renault. That could give the McLaren the look to the outside to replicate the move his teammate did, a bit wide, gets a massive induce of understeer, and that could compromise his run, and that is going to compromise his run as his teammate behind looking to close the gap once and for all. But GT Racer into the pit lane, into turn 1, using the gears wisely. CDM doesn't get the launch that he did as well on the last lap, so in the slipstream, in the ERS range, can he send it? Going to back out and not use his ERS to commit to that move. Probably a wise decision from the man in P5. But really pushing him through turn 5, is he? This is very committed stuff. He needs to get himself through. He needs to show his nose, put the pressure on the Renault, play the mind games, get inside his head, show your nose, make him make a mistake. If you can make him make a mistake, show your nose to the inside, try and scare him a little bit. Opens the door and you invite yourself in for a cup of tea, and that's exactly what the McLaren is trying to do. CDM under a lot of pressure to hang on for this P4 position, and Jim Strav very eager to get himself into the top 4. I'm sure Kimi still stuck behind Callum up in front. I'm sure we're going to see a couple of people pile into the pits very soon. Jim just getting caught on the inside again for turn 11. Certainly less than ideal. Max again with a purple lap, a 34.9, lapping so quickly, and just that gap increases ever so slightly every time we look. He's just constantly gaining time, constantly finding speed, and constantly acclimatizing himself to the track ever so more. 11 laps in, we've got 18 laps left to go, and this battle for P4 is not ceasing one bit. Through turn 16, that's a bit wide from the Renault. That's going to be a bit of carbon fibre taken off the front wing. That's going to be a lot of mechanical downforce taken away, a lot of aerodynamical downforce taken away, and his grip from the tyres is slowly going to be wearing as well, so he's losing a lot of force and a lot of energy in the car, losing a lot of grip as well. In the slipstream, pulls to the inside, the Renault goes deeper, scares him off a little bit, so that's the McLaren's chance. Thord going to push him through turn 3. He's going to be looking to be even more aggressive now. CDM has said, well, this is how we're going to play the game. He's played those cards, he's played aggressive, and Jim Strav going to be even more aggressive on his next time round. I'm sure going to claim the racing line instead. Kimi, is he going to make a move on Callum? We're going to have to wait and see. He's been stuck behind him for a while now. Strav and CDM look to be duking it out. CDM very wide, coming off at turn 7. Jim Strav has a little look. Doesn't quite make it, unfortunately, but CDM goes in very deep. That's going to give Jim Strav the run he needs on the exit. Needs to get the power down, but CDM manages to cover it off and take the racing line. Is Jim Strav going to be close enough into turn 11? No, he's not going to be close enough into turn 11. Use the racing line to full advantage, be committed. That's exactly what he's done, pushing him through in DRS, not DRS, he's in the ERS range to get that optimal suck zone from the slipstream, but doesn't decide to overtake on this particular occasion, which is very strange to me. Maybe he's waiting for his teammate to join in on the fun, and that gap is slowly creeping down to his teammate. So maybe we could see the Renault under pressure from 2 McLarens as CDM gets point. Strav up the inside, and there is CDM into the pit lane, finally releasing Jim Strav into some clean air. Not before JFC decides to CDM maybe for a new front wing after the understeer it causes. Harv and Peter having a nice little battle down in P9 and 8. Bit of a tap though from Harv, that's going to send Peter spinning half. Unfortunately, but yeah, it looks like they're still going to be close enough. No damage done, so it looks like they're going pretty well. Harv trying to close onto the back of Peter, trying to climb tires himself, very deep on the brakes, really closing up and nearly into the back of Peter there. Kimi with his first 3-second penalty for multiple warnings will go on board with Kimi as he does try to still attempt to get past Callum thin, despite not necessarily being on the pace. He's definitely got consistency of steel, that is definitely not shifting. He's just driving his own race, keeping it consistent in P2 and looking to hang on to that. Is Kimi going to come into the pit lane? Yes, he is. So he's going to go for the undercut. He's going to be proactive, have the fresher intermediates on what looks to be a worsening track. Maybe it's just sort of plateauing and staying the same. But Callum will stay out an extra lap. He's going to come behind the laps traffic of Villas. He moves out the way nicely. Harv with... Apologies for that. Just accidentally clicked off my game. So Callum into free air, not under pressure. And there goes Harv into the pit lane, looking to get the undercut on Peter. He's doing a pretty good job in P7, it must be said. JFC Burrito on the back of Kimi. So Kimi, after his pit stop, was it? Did he pit or did he have a big old spin? He did pit. So JFC Burrito is a pit stop down and going to be on the disadvantaged tyres. So it looks like Kimi's going to hang on to that for this particular occasion. Maybe later on in the race we can see... But Kimi very deep, a lot of mistakes coming out. This could give JFC the run. It is going to give JFC the run to get it up the inside. This is not what Kimi needs to be fighting with someone who's not in the same race as him. He's done his pit stop, but JFC doesn't want to be held up anymore by a compromised Ferrari and gets himself back up into P4. And Kimi on the back foot now. This is the least optimal scenario for his outlap. Needed to get his head down. JFC hanging on, so Kimi can't get his way through. Not as confident maybe in making moves in the wet as he would have liked. Setting up a good exit maybe down into turn 3. He's definitely got a good chance. These two certainly not in a race, but the bottle is definitely open for Kimi as he has a massive snap of oversteer. And this could allow Callum to come out further ahead than we would have thought he would after the pit stops. So Mitch GK after the pit stops has actually found himself up into P7, splitting CDM and Peter. So the Ferrari chasing after the Haas. Who is still yet to pit, so this is full position but not necessarily full position, as Peter does need to pit and will come out very far behind. Into 7, and the race leader of Max is into the pit lane. Mitch on the back of Peter though. Peter very sideways through turn 8, just about manages to catch it though. Through turn 9, very shaky on the wheel from Mitch. There goes Peter very wide. He's going to come across. Mitch has to slam on his anchors to avoid him there, otherwise he'd have been collected by the spinning Peter. And very, very quick reactions from him there. Kimi on the back of JFC, maybe into the penultimate corner if he can get it. JFC going to peel into the pit though and let him through. Well, not let him through, but it's going to let him through. It doesn't intentionally let him through, but Brett Gorilla has retired from the session coming out of turn 5, which leads into 7. There is going to be a virtual safety car. VSC, of course, is the virtual safety car, so they have to adhere to the 40% race speed delta. It just means they have to slow down throughout the lap while the marshals can clear off some debris or whatever it might be on the circuit. So full course yellow, everyone have to slow down, no overtaking, and this is going to be Peter and Mitch both into the pit lane. So perfect timing, of course, with everyone slowing down. You don't lose as much time in the pit lane as you would normally do under green flag conditions. So they're going to come in for some fresh tyres. So this is where we were going to initially see some people come into the pits. The pit window now open. Mitch comes out in P8. Peter, having to get a wing change, comes out behind him and on some very cold tyres goes very wide into turn 1. Callum takes the lead of the race, still yet to pit, but it looks like Max wanted a little bit of a challenge, so they're going to try and chase after him. And there's Callum into the pits. Up at the back is CDM through turn 4. all over the back of him, really pushing him through the corner there, you can see. Incredible stuff, how close Harv can run to the back of CDM without making contact. Really putting the pressure on, clipping a bit of grass. That's not going to be where the optimal amount of grip is, I can tell you that much. There isn't much optimal grip in the rain, but it's certainly on the track and not on the grass, I can say that, in my vast experience of racing. Surely doesn't take that much of racing experience to know that, but through turn 12, Harv getting a lot closer to CDM, having to smack on the anchors just a little bit. Into 13, clips the apex very nicely. Into 14, CDM a bit sideways, so's Harv. Not the optimal conditions for these guys at all. Might have been a bit of a better race had it been dry, but definitely does show the good from the great in the wet. You have to be good in the wet to be good in the dry, as they always say. The wet is really where you hone your braking, hone your traction, hone your everything. To be quick in low grip conditions means you can be a little bit faster maybe in the higher grip conditions. And I'd say that philosophy does live up. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Maybe just need to give it a little bit extra, not crawling around at a snail pace smooth. Maybe just at a bit of an aggressive smooth like we see from Max up in front, who's really dominating. 17 seconds is the gap after the pit stops filter out. He is on a mad one. He is looking to make a stake and claim in this championship. And at 17 laps, we're well amongst halfway into the race. Only 13 laps left to go. So around about 20 minutes or so. It's turn 11. And if you are enjoying the stream and coverage by myself so far in this race, do make sure to hit the like button and support the channel. It is greatly appreciated, especially on the night of the league's debut. Oh, there's Harv. Big tank slap of Tokyo through turn 16. Manages to hold it. Going to be on the back foot and need to chase back after CDM. After that, huge slide. Very impressively saved it though. Would love to see a replay of that one, but not quite possible. But a huge slide. Not too many battles on track. There's a virtual safety car after GT Racer GT has retired, coming out of turn 5 and into 6 and 7. Very weird stuff to see. Not something you often see. That far up the circuit especially. Maybe you see it initially after turn 5, but not that far up. So down to 12 drivers in this race now as it stands, or 13 drivers now as it stands. I stand corrected. I think maybe it'll be 12 as they do all pass him. Yeah, it will be 12. But just going to have to slow down once again. GT Racer GT understandably leaves the session. Very easy mistake to do, I'm sure. And these wet conditions haven't been easy for everyone. Probably a lot of people's first time ever racing. Callum as well has retired from the session, interestingly enough, coming out of turn, turn 7 I believe, into 8. He must have had a big old tank slapper, so there's going to be more yellow flags just after the VSC ended. Callum maybe with some cold tyres, couldn't get off to the start he'd have liked. So Kimmy manages to get himself up. Yeah, that's exactly where I thought it'd be. Big crash there, unfortunately. And that's going to be Jim Strav up into the top 3, onto the podium for his debut race, maybe even his first ever league race, as I was alluding to earlier. Down the inside goes Harv, lick it, stick it, send it, bit of contact, he's sent drifting round. That was an audacious send. CDM holds his ground, and Harv can't quite get past. He needs to wait up and go again in a few laps time, maybe once he's closed the gap a little bit more. Harv already closing up the gap to CDM. He looks like he's getting desperate to overtake now. He's looking like he wants to get through very, very quickly. Through turn 11, through turn 12, he's looking a lot smoother than CDM, but CDM still gets the good run. Unfortunately, no fights up front as it stands. Very wide gaps across the field. Looks like everyone's probably as socially distanced as you can possibly get. CDM very sideways through there. Closing the gap ever so slightly, using the energy to help him, to help propel him down the road. Max once again setting another personal best, another fastest lap. Really the star of the field today. Really sets him apart from the rest, and he's just been so consistent, so quick throughout the race. And you can give probably the same credit to Jim Strav as well, who's been up there. Really a lot of places gained, so probably the midfield rainmaster apart from Max, because his performance tonight has just been remarkable. Stuff that you don't often see, and I'm sure he's a seasoned veteran when it comes to league racing. Cody Lewis picked himself up 3 seconds, probably just, you know, milking a dead cow there, because yeah, adding 3 seconds to a man a minute off the nearest guy is probably a bit far-fetched. But there goes Harv, very, very committed on the brakes, all over the back of CDM. Still trying to close that gap. 10 laps of the race left to go, 20 of 29. Probably around about 2/3 of the way through, roughly. Or well, 20 over 29, but roughly 2/3. Into turn 9, they are chasing the lights of Peter in front, slowly chipping away at that gap, so maybe working with each other to close that gap. Don't want to fight too hard, too much, and slow each other down when they're chasing up P7, so maybe a couple of more positions on offer here for CDM and Harv. Bit sideways from CDM though. This is going to give Harv the run in the slipstream, in the ERS. To the inside, he's been very late on the brakes before, he's going to be even later on the brakes, but so is CDM. Soars around the outside to hold on to P8 there, great stuff. Ooh, bit deep from CDM, this could give Harv the run, give CDM a compromised line so Harv can set up a nice little cutback if he can get the power down efficiently. Into turn 1, takes a lot of curb on the inside, does Harv, to try and chase after CDM, who gets a very compromised run, all allowing Peter in front to slowly pull away from the charging tyrants behind. Down the inside he goes, very much a lick it, stick it, send it move. Bit of contact once again, deja vu between the two. Gets up a nice cutback, CDM a bit sideways, going to be side by side on the run into turn 5. Backs out of that one though, sets up a cutback, really pushing him through. Bit of contact, he's shaky, they're still side by side on the run into turn 7. Harv just about gets the better of him, but CDM eager to get it back up the inside. There's contact, and Harv nearly set into the barrier there. And whoa, the helicopter angle really giving us a good angle of what was happening there. But that was so close, he's in the wall, he's lost his wing once again. Big shame. From the man who was putting on so much pressure, he finally went for the move. He's going to retire from the race in anger, and no, no, no disrespect to him there. Can't judge him for that at all. It's completely understandable stuff. So we'll go on board with the master at work. We haven't really had much reason to go on board with the man who's been dominating this race since the start for the last 22 laps. He had a bit of a moment at the start which caused him to fall back amongst the midfield, but he's managed to claw back. He's got a 25-second lead over Kimi. That gap was 1 to 2 seconds after mistakes. Further down, Max hasn't made one at all. He's been setting personal best. He's been pushing those tyres to the absolute limit and still somehow staying as consistent as he has been. No mistakes from the Haas man as far as I'm seeing. And he's coming on to lap 23 of 29. 7 laps of the race left to go. Down the gears as quick as he can. Into turn 1, into 2. Let's see how he does it then. ERS deployed on the run down into turn 3, using the dry patch that's been used up from the cars, sucking the water up and displacing it to the other area, so it might be a bit dried up on the racing line. Through turn 4, really committed, really using the throttle to his advantage to help turn the car, hope rotate the rear end a little bit. Peter with a 3-second time penalty once again, but Max really, really quick. Just goes to show how much of a great drive he's driven. We'll have a look actually while it's a bit quieted down at his lap times. So he's done. It took him a few laps to get acclimatised, but you can see how quickly these lap times drop. Had a couple of offs, 52.5 and 52.4 probably when he pit, and since then just been so consistent, putting the laps in, not made many mistakes. His optimal lap is looking very quick as well. So Max making few, if any, mistakes, or any major mistakes so far in this race. Still has a few laps left to go, but can still all be played for. Just needs to keep his head down, keep it clean, and get it to the end of the race. Bit shaky through turn 2 though. That's probably going to be the last of his needs. A big gap, doesn't matter as long as you don't finish the race. Down to 9, still just extending that gap ever so slightly, and everywhere else everyone's just not wanting to give us any action today. We had a good start to the race. As it went on, as is the case with the rain, you just slowly get fiddled out, and Villas with a 3-second penalty. The man in P9 still going to be taking home some good points, as everyone going to be taking home some good points so long as they finish. Lap 24, we're going to be rounding off onto 25. Not been the most exciting race, it must be said, but we've had some glimmers of action, some glimmers of hope, and with it being a wet race, especially at Melbourne, not really much more you can expect. It is tricky to put on a good show here. CDM, I have noticed, is closing back onto the back of Peter, so maybe we can see a bit of an epic battle for P7 in these closing stages. He's closing, and Peter, maybe with a couple more mistakes, could see CDM onto the back of the Haas. Oh, Peter very wide. That's going to give CDM a very good run to the outside. Going to take the wet line, but not quite going to get the move done. So Peter's going to hang on to P7 for this particular occasion. And CDM going to have to try and set up a move. Bit of a clip onto the grass. Peter very wide as well. That was CDM's chance. It's definitely helped close the gap up. have not done the job for him, so he needs to find a little bit extra as we enter the closing stages, the final couple of laps of this race, coming on to what I believe is going to be 26 when Max crosses the line. And we'll go back to CDM. And the AlphaTauri in P5, KVDPR. We haven't seen much of him. He's definitely drove a quiet race, but he's up 6 positions. He's into P5, kept his nose clean. Fair play to the lad in the AlphaTauri P5. 10 points taken home if he can keep it there. There goes CDM down into turn 3. Hello, it's GT Racer. Ooh, big crash just as I was looking at that. Peter had a bit of a shaky exit off turn 9. CDM wasn't looking too great off there. And into the back of the Haas he went. Maybe a bit of front wing gone. But just checking back in with GT Racer. He had a big crash because he was struggling with the setup. Didn't have any feel to the car. Changed so many settings during the race but couldn't help it. Very big shame to hear that, man. Hopefully, you know, you can adjust it. It's all a learning curve. You learn more from your losses than you learn from your wins. Take everything. Take the positives. You definitely had some good pace at the start. Maybe you just need to find a couple of tunes, a couple of setups that you like. Maybe that suit your driving style a little bit more. Maybe personally, I prefer understeer to oversteer. So I'd prefer the front to go rather than the rear to go. But maybe some people prefer a twitchier front, twitchier rear. Just all comes down to preference. Need to tune it and see what works best for you. But I'm sure ready for next week, you'll be eager and looking to get yourself raring to go. But this battle for 7th place still well and truly on. All over the back of the Haas. Still putting the pressure on. Still got a couple more chances left to go. 3 laps of the race left to go. Well, 2.5 I should say. We've got half of 27, 28 and 29. We're entering very much the closing stages, and Max opened that gap up to 30 seconds now. Really mastered this circuit in the rain. Really is flying. Into 13. Peter managed to open up a bit of a gap over CDM. Chucking it through into turn 14. Oh, Peter very wide through turn 15. That's him off the track and on the back foot, so needing to put the pressure on with him and CDMW. So wow, not quite sure what's happened there. He's going to allow Max to come through. So is CDM. So this fight's still on around the outside. Maybe he has a look over CDM, who's now compromised. So Peter very much has the run to get his position back. Gets a bit swamped. CDM putting the car where he needs to put it and manages to hold on to P7 over Peter. But that was definitely his chance to maybe get the position back after the mistake with the fast Max coming through to lap. CDM still in front, but Peter not shifting. Bit of a wall tap though. Love tap to our good friend Barry R. That a bit of front wing end plate lost. It looks like maybe a bit to the right hand side. So unless the shockwave carried over to the left hand side, I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Maybe it was a bit of earlier wing damage and not sustained during that particular crash. Let's have a little look at and only 3 seconds for CDM. doesn't really make much of a difference, as Peter will lose the position regardless of what happens between him and CDM on track, as Maxi is now going to be rounding on to the final lap of the race. 29 of 29. Peter on the back of CDM JW. We're coming on to the final lap, and we'll stay on board with the race leader through thick and thin. Through 29 laps of consistent hard racing, he's really shone out today. He's put it on pole. He's led the race pretty much every lap. Been so consistent, been incredibly fast, kept his nose clean. 33 seconds is the gap. Let's see how much this extends on this final lap. Through 29 laps, that's almost a second and a half a lap. Or well, a second, maybe 1.2 seconds a lap quicker than the rest of the field. That's an incredible amount of time when you think that, you know, a second is almost like a decade in racing, as he goes purple to the first sector. Seeing a master at work of the rain, maybe we can see more, and maybe this is the spark of a future champion in OBF1 I should say. Through turn 9, coming into turn 10, DRS wide open for the Haas. Coming into turn 11, a little bit down in this time. This is more just a race against himself than anyone else. It's been a race for second pretty much for the entire thing. There's Peter on the back of CDMJW into turn 11 and 12. Can he get it done? Don't want to miss any remarkable moves if there are any. But Max into sector 3, still a little bit down in his time. Maybe he can gain a little bit more. Let's have a little look on his dash. We can't see on his dash. Can't see the delta, unfortunately. But it's down to second gear. He goes, rounding the penultimate corner, rounding the final corner. The first race of OBF1, a new season, a new league, a new challenge. Across the line comes Max to be the first race winner of the season. There's Mitch on the back of KVDPR. They've just started their final lap. They've got 11 more corners left of the circuit to go, left of the race to go. Can Mitch crawl himself up into the top 5? KVDR does have a penalty, so we'll lose the penalty regardless. CDM manages to hang on to P7 ahead of Mitch, who's driving a very, very nice race, despite spins and extra pit stops that he maybe didn't need to take. He's on the back of the racing of the AlphaTauri, sorry. Kimi comes home a nice P2, 43 seconds adrift from Max, but still a P2. That's going to be second in the championship, as Jim takes home ahead of a McLaren at 3-4. Mitch and KVDP are still fighting it out, though. One more sector of the race to go for them. The Ferrari on the back of the AlphaTauri, which was once previously powered by Ferrari back when it was first initiated. Into the penultimate corner, Mitch giving it everything, really closing the gap. Needs to get a bit of a grass intake there, but looks like KVDPR is going to hang on track. JFC hangs on for P4. KVDPR across the line, and Mitch takes home P5 after penalties. Great race there. But the race winner then for the first ever round of the OBF1 League on Formula 1 2020 does go to Max, the Dutchman, taking a very, very dominant lead. A 1:33.627 was the fastest lap, over a second clear of the next fastest. Kimi coming home P2 to make it a Ferrari powered car 1-2, as the front row lined up where they finished. 43 seconds adrift though, definitely a lot further away than they were off the start. Jim Strav comes home at P3, FC in P4, and Mitch P5. The South African of KVD in P6, CDM P7, with a nice battle with Peter for a few laps. He comes home P8, Villas P9, Cody P10, and at the 4 DNFs go to Harv, Callum, GT, and Broke Gorilla. It was a very good race to certainly begin with, sort of dwindled out as the cars spaced out, and the wet weather definitely was tricky for everyone to acclimatise them to. So very much been a pleasure for all your guys' support. It's been the first race. Max is going to take home a full 26 points for this race, after of course winning and taking fastest lap, unless they did change the points, which I'm not fully aware if they have or not, but we'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, that's been Melbourne, Australia. This has been the first round of the new league, and well, what a great way to start off with a wet weather race, and we've definitely seen who the good and the great are tonight. Anyway, I have been Zach Sweeney, this has been OBF1, I hope you have very much enjoyed, and I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.